Saints-Packers preview. I want to start off with a couple of fun facts here that the New Orleans Saints have actually presented as we're only 2 weeks through the NFL season. The Saints are the only team with 3 wide receivers in the top 35 in receiving yards: Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and none of our receivers have drops this year. 0 drops this year from NFL receivers that play for the New Orleans Saints. The Saints defense is now the best road defense since 2018 with 18.7 points per game. I think that is a very big testament to what Dennis Allen and Sean Payton were able to put together before things obviously got the way that they did. We're still a very elite defense right now. I hate that the best defense in the history of the franchise comes around as the best player in the history of the franchise, Drew Brees, is heading out of the door. But hey, the NFL's not parallel, stands for not for long, and ultimately you have to adjust and be able to get through this league. But the big thing, and this is going to lead right into my key points of the Saints here. The New Orleans Saints are now 16-1 when Taysom Hill has 7 or more carries. I'm going to read that again. The New Orleans Saints have only lost 1 game in the 17 games that Taysom Hill gets 7 carries or more. Oh, and Taysom Hill's number 7, right? Funny how that works. I actually just kind of realized that. So let's get into some offensive expectations for the New Orleans Saints as we get into week 3 against the Packers on the road. We're 2-0. The offensive line is the big thing here. The offensive line has to build that foundation so we can get the offense rolling like we need to. If we want Michael Thomas and Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed to continue to be in that top 35, to continue to have these big games, I love our wide receiver trio. I didn't think I'd say that this year. I love Chris Olave coming in. I knew what Rashid Shaheed was last year, but clearly he was an UDFA for a reason. Love that he's made the team. He's got his money. He's signed. He's in packages. Thankfully, Michael Thomas is healthy. He needs to get out of Derek Brown's way. People saying slant boy running a slant right into that locker room. But I really do like the wide receiver trio that the New Orleans Saints have right now. Because again, for a long time with Breeze, like it was only Michael Thomas. And then we go and sign Emmanuel Sanders. And we had the little trinkets of Keith Kirkwood and Traquan Smith and Tommy Lee Lewis. And it's like those guys were solid when we threw to them, when they were accounted for in a package, when they were actually put into a scheme that the Saints were running. But the offensive line has to be solid. Trevor Penning, I'm looking at you, bro. Cesar Ruiz with your 4-year, $44 million a year. I'm looking at you, man. $44 million in total, $11 million a year. I'm looking right at you. I see it on the tape. Derek Carr had only won 7 of the 33 games that he scored 20 points or more. Derek Carr is now already 2-0 when the Saints, Derek Carr was 7-26 when he scored 20 points or less. The New Orleans Saints have not scored 20 points in a game yet this year, and they're already 2-0 with Derek Carr. They scored 20 in the last game, so literally 20 points or less by the stat. Derek Carr is already 2-0. So it shows that he doesn't have to continue to put up points as a premium, but he's going to need his offensive line protection in order to get comfortable. Because even though he was pressured 50% of the time in week 1, I love the fact that he threw for 300 yards and still a great completion percentage. I don't like the horrible interception. And we saw what the pocket can be like in the preseason. I need that. I understand Ryan Ramczyk is kind of struggling with some injuries. I understand that Trevor Penning and Cesar Ruiz and Andrus Peat and James Hurst are some of these guys, and Eric McCoy are some of these guys that we have to move around. I'm buying into all of them. I just need the performance from them, because without that, the Saints are not going to go the places that they need and establish the offense we know that we're capable of without the support in the trenches. It starts and ends there. Derek Carr's pocket presence. Look, Derek, we know that the offensive line is not the greatest right now. We understand that there's still kinks being worked out of the system. We know, just like you said, that we're not playing our best football right now. We're not even playing close to our best execution of football, and we're undefeated. We're still winning games. Close games. We've only given up 1 touchdown this year, but we're still winning games. When Derek Carr is in the pocket, he's got to be able to pick up that pressure better. He's got to quit patting the football so much and kind of hesitating as he's looking downfield. Again, I know I talk on a podcast, on a camera, and a mic. He's making $40 million a year for my favorite NFL team. I get that. But I'm going to still come up here and have an opinion about it as a diehard fan to know what I need to see out of these players to hit the ultimate goal, what all the fans want, obviously, to win another ring, to win a Super Bowl. I've never said Derek Carr would be the guy to take us there, but does he have the potential? Absolutely. If the offensive line is there, absolutely. I need Derek Carr to kind of have more confidence. Still getting on the same page with his receivers. Michael Thomas, obviously, we see him cutting on some of those routes, and people are wanting to call for Jameis Winston. Oh, he had the chemistry with the receivers. Y'all really want Jameis Winston throwing that ball? I get it. He was 5-2, but under Sean Payton. He came off an ACL injury and then played under Dennis Allen. So I'm just kind of wondering, you really want Jameis Winston? Because I don't. I think Carr processes the game at a quicker rate and ultimately just better than Jameis does. Decision making might not be exponentially or even much more better, but I think it's better than Jameis's. I feel more confident Derek Carr dropping back in that pocket through 2 weeks than I ever did with Jameis Winston with the New Orleans Saints. And that's not a knock on Jameis. We had tape on Jameis. We knew what he was coming in. And the same thing with Derek Carr, right? We know what Derek Carr is coming in. He never had a top 20 defense, top 25 defense with the Las Vegas Raiders in the 10 years he was there. And they cut him. In a year where the running back had the most yards ever and the wide receiver had a career year, which is a former teammate, they cut him. But hey, Derek Carr's pocket presence, getting back to the point, has got to be at a better level. Because again, we know the line's not there. I've seen when you move outside of the car, bro. Well, outside of the car, literally. When you move outside of the pocket, you can make things happen. You can move some things around. I've seen you make throws on the run. That throw on the run last week to Rashid Shaheed was beautiful. Going over the right side of the field. Absolutely love that. If I'm thinking correctly, I think that was Rashid Shaheed. The play calling, which kind of goes into using Taysom Hill. When Taysom Hill gets 7 carries, the Saints are 16-1. Taysom Hill was the leading rusher in last week's game and perfectly fit in for when Jamal Williams left. We don't want to see Jamal Williams continue to be out. We know he's going to miss some time, but for Taysom, again, the looks we were giving Taysom, the RPOs, the power runs, just the handoffs, throwing a single pass. That was my issue. When we would bring Taysom Hill in the shotgun and he would just immediately power run. Like, the teams know we're going to do that. Get him just come in and do a handoff. It makes the defense think, oh, he's going to hand off and try to do that power run. No, not really. You've got 4 defenders worried about Taysom while Kendre Miller's busting up to the left. Or Alvin Kamara's coming back in. Like whatever the case is. You know, but Taysom Hill has proven to be kind of that X factor for us when we need him. He's done it in playoff games. He's done it in clutch moments. He was undefeated not undefeated as a starter. He played as a starter, which I enjoyed watching Taysom Hill as a starting quarterback over the couple of, games that he had while Drew Brees was out. I was okay with that. But we have to use Taysom Hill in a better way. RB1, some of these looks. His physicality and aggression is like no other. I saw someone post on a Saints group today. If you ask that man to play linebacker, knowing his luck, he'd jump in and get a pick 6. And I'm not saying that Taysom is going to be able to do that. Like we've heard some crazy stuff this week about apparently Micah Parsons getting snaps at an offensive position. But we know what Taysom Hill brings with the wide receiver, tight end, quarterback, running back capabilities. When Taysom is in the offense, because it's kind of feeling like we've gotten away from the offense over the last couple of years, when Taysom is in the offense and flowing like that, it feels like just everything comes together better. Like he is that person we need in the offense to keep others guessing, to give us that upper hand, to give us that versatility because of the way we can use him in packages. And I think it is no freaking irony that the Saints are 16-1 when Taysom Hill gets 7 or more carries in a football game. And it goes over into the run game. I'd like to see more Kendre Miller. We obviously know Jamal Williams is out. Tony Jones did impeccable in pass blocking last week. Go check X. Go check Instagram from the Saints, Barstool, New Orleans, whatever. Tony Jones was impeccable in the pass protection last week. I know only 12 carries, 34 yards. Still had 2 touchdowns. Still came in the absence of a Jamal Williams, not having a Kendre Miller and your best running back in Alvin Kamara on the team yet because he's serving that suspension. Tony Jones really won me over last week. I love the pass protection that he's showing. The 2 touchdowns were great. Of course, I'd like to see more than, 3 and some change, high 2s, low 3s in terms of yards per carry. But the run game, until Carr gets on the same page as his receivers, some people said we've been a run-first team for a while, and I kind of agree with that in a way. When we've been able to establish the run, and this is really like any NFL team, right? When you're able to establish the run, you earn the respect of the other team. You make them fear the play action. You make them fear the other possible things that are going to happen because when you have to pack possibly 6 or 7 in the box to stop the run, you're able to earn the respect on the back end. So the O-line for the offensive side of the ball clearly got to play better. I want to see more out of Carr's pocket presence. The play calling, mixing in Taysom, getting the run game established is definitely key. defensive expectations versus the Green Bay Packers and really Jordan Love. So we got the secondary without Marcus May. He's suspended from the DUI from 2021. He's suspended for 3 games. Freaking Kamara suspended. We got Jake Haener suspended. But sticking to Marcus May being suspended for us here. I've liked Marcus May for the most part. I know he's not a fantastic defender. I know he's not a, crazy good safety that we can always depend on. We've seen him blow some coverages. We've seen him get picked on, miss some tackles. And again, we can say that for a lot of players in this league. But knowing that we're not going to have Marcus May, I don't believe Christian Watson's going to play. It's kind of curious about Aaron Jones as well, which makes me feel even more comfortable about this pick. But how are the other safeties going to step up? We hear about was it Jordan Holden? Something. Let me look up Saints backup safety. I don't remember. Somebody that was stepping in. Matter of fact, let me look real quick because I know he's on the depth chart. Jordan Howden. Okay, I was close. Jordan Howden stepping in, getting a lot of the first team reps. We've heard of that confirmation about how he's stepping into that role. And I trust what the defense is putting together to bring him in. I trust what we're really possibly going to be able to do in that absence of Marcus May. Do I think the defense will take a hit? Yes, I do. Do I think that, we're going to feel Marcus May not being in the lineup? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's one of our better defensive secondary players. He's the reason, one of the big reasons, a reason next to Tyrann Mathieu that we've got the safety tandem that we do, that we've got the passing defense that we do. I'm not really afraid of Jordan Love, again, because he's played the Falcons, who were a good defense. He put up some points on them. I think we're better than Atlanta. And he did play the Bears. It was really a 38-13 game, 38-12, 38-14. Possibly they end up winning 38-20. Talking about the late touchdown there that made it look kind of closer than it was. But I'm not afraid of Jordan Love. Aaron Jones kind of coming off the injury. Don't know about Christian Watson. I'm not afraid of this Green Bay offense. I don't have them in the top 15 teams. I didn't have them but winning just a few games, or I think more than a few, but not even double digits this year. Didn't have them winning the division. Crazily enough, I had the Bears winning the division, but we see how the NFL season is playing out through 2 years. So again, I trust the secondary. Banged up Aaron Jones, I think we'll be able to kind of contain him there, contain that run game. I think the secondary will be okay on the back end. Luckily, again, they don't have that receiving threat. I believe in Aaron Jones. And of course, Christian Watson's kind of curious for this game as well. So some of their biggest threats, we're not going to necessarily have to worry about. I'm cool with the linebacking room. I love how we are getting pressure with our front four. Carl Granderson, Cameron Jordan. I just love the guys that are stepping up, showing that they have to play their tails off, their asses off for this New Orleans Saints team, because we are relying on depth in a good bit of areas, right? Depth has to really be a thing for the Saints when you're not super loaded in certain areas like the defensive line. I think our, most well taken care of unit, ironically enough, is the secondary. And y'all have heard me say, damn, this is the first time in a long time that the defense is the highlighter. I'm like, hey, I'm cool with the defense. We remember when the rush defense was number 1 in the NFL, but the pass defense was 31st or 32nd. So it kind of balances you out there. But I'm confident in the defense against the Green Bay Packers. I'm not afraid of this offense. I'm not afraid of Jordan Love. I have a lot of trust in the defensive side of the ball. It really all comes down to those offensive trenches. Derek Carr's play, his chemistry with the receivers. Better use Taysom Hill again. 16-1 in games where he has at least 7 or more carries.